Good afternoon. It's Kirsten here for another Thursday Spa Business Break where I'm talking about you, the spa owner, and your spa business because there are so many aspects of your business, both tactical and leadership wise, that it can often send many of us in a spin when things aren't going right or we just haven't figured things out yet. So I am continuing on the topic of spa owner stress and how to mitigate it this summer because many of you are crazy busy this time of year, especially starting in June. It really ramps up until September. So every year I see and hear from spa owners who are incredibly stressed. They're absolutely at the wall. They cannot barely take it anymore. Some of them can't take it anymore and are seriously considering selling their business or just quitting because it has just been too much. Now, often what happens in that situation is that there's not a lot of systems in place, so owners are doing way too much work, working way too hard, spinning their wheels. Projects aren't really getting completed. Issues with staff aren't being resolved. Even if you don't have any problems with your staff, even if you need to hire, that's a staffing issue. And so when you add on all of the kind of spa owner responsibilities on top of a really busy season, on top of a time of year when typically we want to have some free time to enjoy the summer, it can add so much pressure and stress that, could just take one major thing and it just would it can push you over the edge. So today I want to talk about outsourcing, but I wanted to talk about two different types of outsourcing. One of them, the first one that I'm referring to, is probably one you're quite familiar with, and that is delegating some of your tasks. Now, as an owner, especially if you are a solo and you have a really full clientele and you're trying to leverage your earnings, you can get to that place where you're really busy in the treatment room. You don't have a lot of time to do things like your email marketing, your social media, or even your accounting and bookkeeping, even your cleaning. Like, there's pieces that you're going to have to delegate at some point if you want to be working in your zone of genius, because that's where your earning potential is. So one of the places I want to, the sticky bits of delegation that I want to talk about here, because I have been talking to spa owners who say, I am delegating, but I'm still stressed out and there's still things to do, even in the delegation process. So here's the deal. Delegation, so let's just take your social media management or your blog writing, for example. If you wanted to outsource your blog writing, that's an absolute option. There's lots of ghostwriters out there. You can provide the kind of the bones of what you want the article to be about, and then somebody can write it for you. However, one of the issues I see with delegation happening in the spa industry is that owners are mistakenly thinking delegating is just completely handing off whatever it is to somebody, and that the expectation is that it's done perfectly. The problem is that you cannot do that with delegation. If you're delegating any of your tasks, you still need to create a system. You need to create a system of deliverables, of due dates, of what you're expecting from that deliverable, and a way for you and that person who you're delegating it to communicate. Because it's unrealistic to expect to just delegate, kind of give everything over and expect it to come back with your brand, with your voice, with your feel, with your energy. It's unrealistic to expect that to come back if you've completely just abdicated, meaning like you've just dumped it. So here's the thing with delegation is that you still will need to create systems to support that new delegation system. When you've put those systems in place as far as expectations, due dates, what's delivered, then you can book that time into your own schedule to make sure that you're able to keep up your end of the process in there as far as delegating goes. So delegating is one of those pieces that when you get to a certain point of success, you just cannot do it all. When you're just a new startup, most of the time all you have is time. And so you use that time to learn new systems, new processes, new business tactics, but there gets to a point where you're going to be too busy to even manage what you're working on. Now, the other point of outsourcing that I want to make today is a little bit different. And if you've been following me, this isn't new information, but maybe you need to hear this today. When the other play on words of outsourcing is connecting to some sort of faith or source or inner self. And what I mean by this different version of outsourcing is to, you want to gather your energy somehow. And one way is kind of tactically delegating tasks. The other way is to tap into a resource, an energetic resource for you that supports you as a person. It supports your heart, it supports your soul, it supports your mind, it supports your body. Because here's the thing, entrepreneurship, doesn't matter what industry you're in, is an inner game. If you want to work at your full potential, you are going to have to outsource. You are going to have to look at maybe the more difficult parts of yourself that you may have not wanted to look at. Maybe you are wanting to even connect with yourself physically more with yoga and mindfulness. Perhaps it is outsourcing, and maybe it's going to church for you. Maybe it's going for a walk in nature. Maybe it is reading self-help books. Whatever it is, as far as where you gather energy from, that is another piece of outsourcing that's critical if you're trying to work towards your full potential, because we just cannot do this all by ourselves. I know we like to think we can, but we really can't. And if you hold on to that thought that I can do this by myself, I don't need to outsource tasks, I don't need to use my faith or my connection to self to support myself, then you're really you're leaving a lot of potential on the table. When we're able to connect with source energy, with faith, with spirit, with ourselves in a peaceful, mindful, healing, supportive way, that just sets up our ability to handle whatever happens at work a whole lot easier. So I do notice that this topic of conversation, as far as having some sort of connection to faith, whatever that is for you, and connecting to it on a regular basis in order to draw support, to draw upon energy, because when we are feeling fueled by that deeper connection to that bigger energy, however you want to describe it, that allows us to be in that space much more time during the day, so that we can facilitate our own healing and nourishment, so that we can really work to our full potential. So, outsourcing, I'm wondering if you are looking at any places for yourself. Oh my gosh, where can I outsource? Then I want you to also take a look at what are you doing for yourself as far as self-care. How are you filling up? What kind of source are you plugging into? If you're plugging into a kind of a negative situation or something that really doesn't fill you up well, maybe there are toxic people in your life, maybe there are toxic employees that you're working with. Whatever it is, we need to have some sort of filling up. And if we don't do that, then we can't pour from an empty cup. We hear this a lot in our industry, that self-care, 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 and connecting to source is one of those ways to fuel ourselves and our self-care. We like to think as service providers and being in the spa industry, we're a bunch of givers and we love giving, and often it's to the detriment of ourselves. And when it becomes at the detriment of ourselves, it then becomes a detriment to the business. So self-care, ironically, is one of those pieces that spa owners forget to do for themselves. And if you haven't watched any of my Facebook Lives this month, for the month of June, I urge you to go back into the previous weeks and listen to those and make a plan for yourself for your own self-care this summer, because you can try to white knuckle it for sure, but how well does that normally work for you? I know it really doesn't work for me. I know it does not work for the people the spa owners that I work with. I know it doesn't work for the social media clients that we have. That's why we end up taking over their social media. So you can only white knuckle it for so long, and then you have to have some sort of plan to fuel yourself, to nourish your soul, to nourish your energy, so you can come back to work every week feeling like you got some energy for this game. All right, that is today's Facebook Live. I would love to hear any kind of feedback from you. Are you actually outsourcing some of your tactics, your tasks that you need to do? And have you figured out a way to connect to an energetic source that really fills you up? And what does that look like for you? For me, I have a little space right beside me here, and I often just at the beginning of my day, I will sit in front of it. I will play some beautiful music. I will often sage my room here. I'll do a little prayer. I will connect to my own guides, to my own angels, to whoever has my greatest and highest good in their energy. And I ask for help every single day. I ask for help. I ask for help and support to support the women I work with, to support myself, so that we're all in this really big, nurturing, supportive circle for each other. I've even done meditations where I've called in people if I'm looking for more clients. I use this connection to source to call in those people who are in alignment to working with me. So it's just a different way of looking at business. I know it's worked really well for me. I've heard lots of stories of other entrepreneurs and entrepreneurs in the spa industry who are doing the same, kind of realizing that this connection to spirit, whatever that is for you, holds an incredible amount of power and potential. Hi Sylvia, just looking at your thing. Not sure where to hire a trusted source is the trouble. Too many experts to toss money at. Have a checklist to guide us? Actually, I do have a checklist coming for a new opt-in. It's not quite ready. However, when you're looking for a trusted resource to outsource, my best bet, my best recommendation for you is to ask for referrals. I get asked for referrals for my coaching program. If somebody looks like they're decent and they know what they're doing, ask for references. And also I also ask my personal networks if I'm looking for a referral. I always start there, and then take it from there if I can't find anybody in my personal network. But then as far as experts, it really depends on what you're looking for. If you're looking for specific strategy, if you're looking for graphics, if you're, there's just so many pieces. One of the resources you can use is our Facebook groups. There's lots of people always asking for recommendations, and then you get your recommendations and you have to do your due diligence, right? That's just how it goes. You're welcome, Sylvia. Yes, everyone knows someone, just not in our industry are fine. Okay, what are you actually looking for? Is there something specific? You want somebody to do your posts? This is really interesting, simply because I now have a social media agency. Now that we've got all our systems in place and they are very smooth, and I've got a great team and they're talented at what they do. But here's the thing with social media: when you do outsource your social media, a lot of times spa owners are a little bit surprised, like they have a little bit of sticker shock. But the fact of the matter is that that's just kind of what it costs to outsource that kind of work. It's, if you're wanting social media posts that convert, it takes time to as a social media manager, it takes time to test out posts to see how they're performing. So it's not just as easy as finding a social media manager who creates every post that converts. It's a much bigger, it's got a much bigger picture than that. There's so many factors in that. It has to do with so many different tactics, image, copywriting, if you're on Instagram, hashtag strategy, what your engagement sprints are like. So all of those pieces, you have to understand how they all work and how they affect each other. But if you have a newbie social media manager because you can't quite afford it, then you're going to get kind of newbie tactics with that. So I understand that it can be a little bit of a crunch to find a expert that is within a budget that you can afford, especially with solos. I do find it's a little bit more of a struggle for them. Any other questions? You can pop them in the chat here and I will check back. Yes, someone that has a proven method. Yes. And the other piece with that, Sylvia, is with social media management is that, there are technically proven ways, but it's all has to do with data, and it's always changing because Facebook and Instagram are always changing their algorithms. So it's kind of like, asking for perfection out of a social media management to have every post convert like that is not exactly the most reasonable expectation, because again, it's all about testing, getting the brand on par. A lot of times, a lot of companies don't have a great brand in place, and so with their social media managers, they have to figure out the brand and how to make that work. So like I said, there's so many different pieces within social media management that affects a great track record for post management. All right, that is it for today for my spa business break on a Thursday, and I will be back here next Thursday, same time at 12 noon Pacific. I will see you then. So you have some expectations. We all do. But the thing is that once we understand how things work, then it's about managing our expectations. So there you go. Okay, we'll see you guys next week. Thanks for joining me.